Project Runway and Top Chef have like trained so many editors. Early in your career, you take these jobs that you think are not going to pay off or they're not going to do anything for you. And you cannot predict when it's going to come back and help you and be an asset to your career. I went to film school and kind of asked one of my first professors, like, I think I really want to be an editor. And he, of course, was a documentary editor of Hoop Dreams. His name was Bill Hogsey. And he was like, well, you got to do documentary. And but he was right. And it was amazing. I mean, you really have to learn how to find the story. And I still really rely on that experience to this day. For temp scoring, I use a lot of documentary score because it's not as familiar as some of the feature film scores. It's not, very noticeably Hans Zimmer or, you know,
Mm.
uh, Christoph, what's his name? Forgetting anyway. But so it's really authentic. And that was what I sort of learned about working in documentary was really finding authentic moments and then noticing that the scores in documentaries tend to be very beautiful and nimble kind of. And they don't and
Mhm.
not too pushy. So I love using documentary scores today. That was a very fortuitous time though, because it was like around the late 90s or 2000. And I think that's when Survivor came out. And Survivor was the first reality TV show and kind of big reality TV show. And so they were like, all the networks were like, we need to make more reality programming, which is just like documentary. So all of a sudden, all of us kind of, nerdy documentary kids at USC, which is very famous for its narrative stuff, you know, and we were sort of, kind of like, well, we're just over here doing documentaries. They're really good. All of a sudden, we all got jobs, like right out of the bat. And like the indie film industry had kind of cratered. And so suddenly, everyone who was in documentary had a very successful, like, on-ramp to a career. And it was things like Extreme Makeover Home Edition and Project Runway and Top Chef have like it just trained so many editors. And
Mhm.
those shows were also great ways to get your union days. And then you could get into the union. And so that's just exactly what I did. I worked on a couple of documentaries and bad reality shows, but they all paid off. Like eventually that one of the editors I assisted on a A&E documentary on circuses, she wound up working on The Office. And when I was, I'm fast forwarding literally like we worked together. We always remembered it was during September 11th. And then in, 2015, when I left Grey's Anatomy, and I was like, I really want to get into comedy, she helped me get my first job interview
Mhm.
on a show that was, one of the producers from The Office. And so I love to tell that story because, early in your career, you take these jobs that you think are not going to pay off or they're not going to do anything for you. And you cannot predict when it's going to when it's going to come back and help you and be an asset to your career.